Philosophers, those deep thinkers who have shaped the way we understand the world, often lived lives of contemplation, probing the mysteries of existence. Yet, behind the profound wisdom and celebrated ideas lies a darker reality. Many of these great minds met tragic, violent, and untimely deaths, their lives cut short by the very forces they sought to understand or challenge. In this video, we'll take you on a journey through time, exploring the grim fates of some of history's most influential philosophers. From ancient Greece to the modern era, we'll uncover the disturbing circumstances that led to their demise, revealing a side of philosophy rarely discussed. Prepare yourself for a sobering look at the terrible ways philosophers die. Our journey begins in ancient Rome with Seneca the Younger, the renowned Stoic philosopher and advisor to Emperor Nero, who met a tragic end in 65 CE. Accused of conspiring against the emperor, Seneca was ordered to take his own life. True to his Stoic beliefs, he faced death with composure, slashing his wrists in a warm bath. When the blood flowed too slowly, he also took poison, eventually suffocating in the bath to hasten his death. His final moments were a testament to the Stoic ideals of facing death with dignity and courage. Another Stoic, Cato the Younger, chose suicide over submission. In 46 BCE, after Julius Caesar's victory in the Roman Civil War, Cato refused to live under Caesar's rule. He attempted to take his own life by stabbing himself with a sword. When the wound did not immediately kill him, he tore it open with his hands, ensuring his death. Cato's suicide was an act of defiance, a final assertion of his freedom in the face of tyranny. Socrates, the father of Western philosophy. Socrates lived a life dedicated to questioning the world around him, challenging the status quo with his relentless pursuit of truth. But in 399 BCE, this very pursuit led to his downfall. Accused of impiety and corrupting the youth, Socrates was sentenced to death by an Athenian jury. Choosing to remain true to his principles, he calmly accepted his fate, drinking a cup of hemlock, a potent poison that slowly ended his life. In 415 CE, the brilliant Hypatia of Alexandria, a philosopher, mathematician, and astronomer, became a victim of religious fanaticism. She is often regarded as one of the first notable female scholars in Western history. Born around 360 CE, she was the daughter of Theon of Alexandria, a well-known mathematician and philosopher himself, who educated her in the arts and sciences. Hypatia became the head of the Neoplatonic school of philosophy, where she taught philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy. She was highly respected for her intellect, wisdom, and teaching, drawing students from all over the Mediterranean. Her life took a tragic turn due to the political and religious turmoil of the time. As the Roman Empire became increasingly Christianized, tensions between different religious and philosophical groups grew. Hypatia, who was associated with the pagan intellectual elite and had close ties to the political leadership of Alexandria, became a target. In 415 CE, she was brutally murdered by a mob of Christian zealots. They accused her of being a witch and an enemy of Christianity. Her death is often seen as symbolizing the end of the classical world and the beginning of the Middle Ages, where religious dogma often overshadowed scientific and philosophical inquiry. Hypatia's life and death have become emblematic of the struggle between reason and religious fanaticism, and she is remembered as a martyr for intellectual freedom. In 524 CE, Boethius, a Roman philosopher and statesman, found himself imprisoned by Theodoric the Great, the Ostrogothic king of Italy. Accused of conspiracy, Boethius was subjected to torture before being executed by beheading. His death was a stark contrast to the calm, philosophical reflections found in his most famous work, The Consolation of Philosophy, written during his imprisonment. The Renaissance brought a resurgence of philosophical inquiry, but with it came persecution. Giordano Bruno, an Italian philosopher and cosmologist, dared to propose that the universe was infinite and that other worlds existed beyond our own. These radical ideas led to his arrest by the Roman Inquisition. The Roman Inquisition was an institution established by the Catholic Church in the 16th century to combat heresy, particularly in response to the Protestant Reformation and other perceived threats to church doctrine. The Roman Inquisition was responsible for investigating, trying, and punishing individuals accused of heresy, blasphemy, witchcraft, and other offenses against the Catholic faith. It operated with significant authority, often in secrecy, and its methods included interrogation, censorship, and sometimes torture to extract confessions. The trials could lead to various punishments, ranging from penance and imprisonment to execution, though execution was less common under the Roman Inquisition compared to earlier inquisitions. After years of imprisonment and torture, Bruno was burned at the stake in 1600. His cries for truth silenced by the flames of intolerance. Étienne Dolet, a French scholar and humanist, faced a similar fate in 1546. His outspoken views on religion and the state made him a target of the authorities. Accused of atheism and blasphemy, Dolet was sentenced to death. He was strangled and then burned at the stake in Paris, his ashes scattered as a warning to others who dared to challenge the orthodoxy. Jumping forward to the Enlightenment, we encounter Thomas More, the English philosopher and author of Utopia. The execution of Sir Thomas More was carried out under the authority of King Henry VIII of England. More, a prominent statesman, lawyer, and humanist scholar, was executed on July 6, 1535. Thomas More was executed because he refused to swear the oath of supremacy, which recognized Henry VIII as the supreme head of the Church of England. This oath was part of the broader conflict between Henry VIII and the Catholic Church over his divorce from Catherine of Aragon and his subsequent marriage to Anne Boleyn. More, a staunch Catholic and former Lord Chancellor, opposed the king's actions and the resulting establishment of a separate Anglican church, which led to his arrest and trial. Henry VIII's decision to execute More was motivated by a combination of political and personal factors. More's refusal to support the king's religious reforms was seen as a challenge to Henry's authority and a threat to the consolidation of his new church. Despite More's high status and his prior contributions to the English government and intellectual life, he was ultimately sentenced to death for treason. More's execution was carried out at Tower Hill in London, and he is remembered as a martyr for his religious convictions and a symbol of resistance to the monarchy's overreach into ecclesiastical matters. In the modern era, the tragic fates of philosophers continued. Albert Camus, the French philosopher known for his philosophy of absurdism, met a sudden and violent death in 1960. Camus, who had explored themes of life's inherent meaninglessness, died in a car accident when the vehicle he was in crashed into a tree. The irony of his untimely death, after a life spent contemplating the absurdity of existence, has not been lost on his readers. These philosophers lived their lives in pursuit of truth, knowledge, and understanding, yet many met tragic, violent ends, victims of the very forces they sought to comprehend or challenge. Their deaths serve as a stark reminder of the price often paid for challenging the status quo, for daring to think differently, and for holding steadfast to one's beliefs. As we reflect on their lives and deaths, let us remember the enduring legacy of their ideas, which continue to shape our understanding of the world. In the end, it is not how these philosophers died that defines them, but how they lived, how they dared to question, to challenge, and to seek the truth, no matter the cost.